Xavier Abu Eid joins me, who's a political scientist and a former communication advisor to the Palestine Liberation Organization. Welcome back, Xavier. I mean, there's so much to talk about, but I noticed a recent interview from Benjamin Netanyahu. He kind of outlined in more clearer terms what he's expecting. So he said there's two stages to this. Stage one, hostages are released. Israel, in response, will withdraw its military, but they're going to stay in Gaza. Stage two, demilitarization of Gaza. So stage one, releasing of the hostages, that's where Israel gets everything it wants. So I understand that's why the US and Israel are all about, let's just get stage one done, because then they've got pretty much what they want, isn't it?
And if there is no international intervention, that's all they are going to do. Because if you look at also at Israeli public opinion, you don't really have a significant movement to stop the genocide. You have a significant movement to get the captives back, right? So in other words, he can get the captives and then he can continue doing whatever he wants in Gaza. I mean, that's somehow how some Israeli politicians are portraying things. And remember, his government coalition is extreme to the extent that many of his ministers were actually talking about building settlements in Gaza. So he will have to compensate withdrawing from certain parts of Gaza with something, which could happen in the West Bank, but also could happen by ruining the second or third stages of the agreement.
So this is why Hamas never wanted to do a deal, because the terms were really bad from their point of view. They give up the hostages, what do we get in return? So once you get to stage two, Israel says it wants to demilitarize Gaza, Hamas has to disarm. Do you think it'd be willing to do that? And also, what does it get in return for this?
I think it will depend, of course, on the staging and on what's going to happen in the overall situation. But we should not forget that Hamas is running out of options. And they are being pressured, not just by Israel and not just by the US. Now,
it's running out of options, but how does this differ from defeat? I mean, how is this different to being just full out defeated on the battlefield?
That's the point. I think Benjamin Netanyahu, and to a certain degree the US administration, they want to present this negotiation as a defeat for Hamas. It's not about having an agreement that's going to facilitate the rehabilitation or the reconstruction of Gaza. They just want to basically, they may want to get through an agreement what they could not do on the ground. Now, again, this is a war, a genocidal war that Israel started without having clear goals. Once again, what is Benjamin Netanyahu seeking in Gaza? So if he's, once again...
Well, he says he wants to destroy Hamas and he wants to have control over Gaza.
Well, he's someone who actually facilitated the presence of Hamas in Gaza. So again, we are talking about someone who really doesn't have any policy vis-a-vis Palestinians, with one exception, to prevent by any means the exercise of a Palestinian right to self-determination. Call it Hamas, call it PA, call it whatever. So he believes that this Gaza genocidal war is an opportunity to advance that goal. Now that there is an international movement and international intervention, he may have been stopped. So now he has to prepare something that he can also sell to his own people.
Right, let's play this out then. Let's say, best case scenario, Hamas says, yes, here are your hostages, yes, we're disarming, we're going to leave the country. That's it. So what happens next? Because it says in this plan there are steps towards a Palestinian state. Netanyahu has said he is a sworn opponent of there being a Palestinian state. So how does he get out of that?
Well, if I were Netanyahu's place with his ideology, I would support this. Because what they are saying, they mention the prospects of possibly a future Palestinian state. The Palestinian state should have been a reality 30 years ago. So, in other words, they are taking us backwards, not forward, when it comes to the state of Palestine. In order to have the state of Palestine, there is a very basic requirement to end the Israeli occupation. Is this plan a basis to end the Israeli occupation? No. This plan is a basis to have a ceasefire, perhaps to rebuild Gaza, but not to end the Israeli occupation. Therefore, what this plan is doing, in the point when they refer to the state of Palestine, is to further fragment the occupied Palestinian territory by setting a different administration in Gaza than the one in the West Bank. So if I were Netanyahu, I would oppose this, by the way.
Again, I would be very concerned if I was Palestinian about this plan for putting up this board of peace, because Donald Trump has put himself at the top of it. So in my book, that makes him effectively in charge in Gaza, and this is the man who has said he doesn't want the Palestinian people to be there and that he wants to build a Riviera. He wants to turn this into a resort. Isn't that not massively concerning for people who live there?
I think the main concern is that we have a superpower like the US with significant influence in our region with no clear policy in this region. I don't know if this is lack of policy or many policies together. I mean, what's a U.S. policy? Is it Mike Huckabee, the U.S. ambassador, a Christian Zionist who claims that Palestinians don't exist? Or is it President Trump now saying that he would bring a solution to Israelis and Palestinians? We don't know what U.S. policy is. So I certainly agree that Palestinians should be concerned, at the same time that I believe that the main goal now is to end the genocide. That's why it's important for those negotiations, at least the initial part, to work. And also, the issue of Palestinian prisoners, it's extremely important. I mean, what are going to be the names that are going to be out? Are we going to see Morana Barghouti, for example, out of jail? This could be a game changer for many people. So I think also we should wait a bit and see how those negotiations develop.
Yeah, I mean, it's been said many times, there are so many details that need to be filled in. There's a lot for them to do there in Sharm el-Sheikh. Thank you so much for the analysis there. Xavier Abu Eid is my guest, former advisor to the PLO.